Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, Simone here, and today is Vlogmas Day 9. So today I'm doing quite a bit of a negative video for Vlogmas, but you've got to have some good and bad things, don't you? And this is just a really cool video that I've been wanting to do for a little while. And this is going to be my things I hate about books. Now, this is probably more things I hate about YA books, but this kind of generally will follow across all of them anyway. But generally this is kind of like YA books more specifically. So I have 10 things I want to talk about. I'm hoping this will not be a massively long video because I know I'm used to that. So let's get started. So the first thing is one I've talked about a lot in videos in the past. I actually had one of my wrap-ups, I believe, had this as like my most hated phrase or something at the end. And yeah, I just keep reading this and it really annoys me. And it's the phrase, I let out a breath I didn't realise I was holding. Then it made it worse. A couple of months ago I read The Host by Stephanie Meyer, and one of the phrases in it was, he let out a breath I didn't realise he'd been holding. And I was like, you can't just use that phrase and change it around. Like, it's equally as annoying and doesn't make any sense. So I mean, I suppose if somebody else you didn't realise someone else was holding a breath, that makes more sense than not realising yourself was holding a breath. So I guess it's not as bad, but either way, the phrase was there and I was like, oh my god. The second one is a thing that I hate in TV shows as well as books, and it's when you get right to the end of a film or a book or a TV episode and then it all turns out to have been a dream and none of it was true and it was all a dream, and then they wake up at the end, and I just hate that so much. I think, like, if that's the only way that you can think of like a fantastical story, is for it all have to been in someone's head, like, that just really annoys me, and I can't, I feel like I've wasted my life if I read or watch something and then that's the end. I feel like that's just a chunk of my life that I will never get back. The next one is more specific to like crime or like thriller type things or like mystery novels, but it's when so say there's like a crime that's been committed and they're trying to find out who does it, and they or even in like fantasy and stuff, when something bad happens and they know who's done it, but it turns out to have been a secret twin that nobody knew about. I really don't like this whole secret twin thing. I think like it doesn't make sense to me. Again, I feel like it's a bit lazy to like be like, oh, it wasn't them, it was their twin. Like, how, it just annoys me, it irritates me, and I can't, I'll like come up with something better. That's just rubbish. Another thing that I don't like, and it's not specifically in a book, but it's something about the book, and that is when you read the synopsis of a book and it's wrong or it's completely misleading. It doesn't tell you really what's in the story, or even worse, I don't like it especially when a book has in the synopsis something that doesn't happen for like 3/4 of the book, because I think by the, like, essentially when I read a synopsis for a book, I will then kind of almost be waiting for that to happen in the book and expecting it to happen within the first couple of chapters. But then when it's not there for ages, I think, well, now I feel like there was no point in reading the book because you already told me in the synopsis. So yeah, I don't like it when synopses don't actually like tell you something about the book like that's right, or they reveal too much. Another thing I hate in books is coincidence. I don't mind it kind of in small, very small doses, but when essentially in order to further the plot all they've done is like, oh, this coincidentally happened, yeah, I think The Bronze Horseman was the worst one for that. I read The Bronze Horseman by Paulina Simons, which I think you will probably know by now I hated, but there was a lot of things that happened that were very coincidental to the like main couple getting together. So I don't rate that, and it just makes me think, like, again, it's that laziness of writing of like, I couldn't come up with anything else, so I'll just like coincidentally make something happen in order to kind of continue on with the story. Number 6 is Love at First Sight. Now, it's a bit more specific, this one, because I think there are some books, and a lot of these things on this list, there are some books that do them well, and it doesn't always, I don't always hate every single one of them. What I will say is, for the love at first sight thing, I don't like it when the person becomes obsessed with that person, like immediately. Everything revolves around them. They like blow off their family and friends for this guy or girl that they've literally just met. Like, I really don't like that. I don't think it's not a good relationship, like, ideal, really. I don't mind when they have, like, meet somebody and have like an instant connection, but it doesn't have to go completely that way. I think sometimes it can just be a bit too much. The next one is also quite a specific one, and this again is not one that I always hate, but sometimes it really annoys me, and that is the whole secret identity thing. Like, what I mean by that is where a plot's going along and maybe they're trying to find somebody, or they kind of know about this individual that is somewhere floating around, they don't know where they are, and it turns out to be one of the main characters is actually like the princess of here, or, you know, this hidden person that nobody, like, they didn't know that was who they were. I just think sometimes, again, it's that whole like, oh, how coincidental, this person who's trying to save the world happens to also be the king of this country, or whatever it is. Yeah, I don't like that either. Sometimes it just really irritates me. Another one which isn't always terrible, but there are times when it really annoys me, is when the best friend of the main character is in love with that main character, but the main character doesn't know and like can't see it. The worst one I saw, and I know a lot of people really like this and actually quite ship them, but I really don't like in the Mortal Instruments by Cassandra Clare, the whole Clary and Simon thing. Simon's like in love with Clary and has been for years. Everybody else can see it, but she's completely oblivious. And I just think as a good friend, you would be able to, like, you'd know that. You know, you'd be able to tell that somebody had feelings for you. Like, I just can't understand that whole thing. Like, it doesn't make sense to me. So yeah, that to me is another one that I don't always love. Sometimes it works. I don't like the whole ignorance of like your best friend's feelings. I just don't like that. Another thing which is quite prevalent again in YA, this is more specific to YA, and that is the whole parents idea. I find in YA most of the main characters either don't have parents, like they're either orphans, or like their parents just aren't around, or they've got really rubbish parents that just don't have any interest in them. Or they, and mostly in YA, they just don't have that like parental figure unless it's somebody else, and it's never their parents. They can never like just talk openly to their parents about everything that's happening. Like, bar obviously a few. But yeah, it just really irritates me. I'm like, please have good parents, somebody do good parenting. And then the last one is one that, again, it's just not to my experience, and I don't quite understand why this happens in like every single YA book, and that is the whole idea of, oh, his kisses were like electricity. I felt the lightning go through me like as we kissed, and I'm like, really? Who has ever experienced that? There's a difference between like having butterflies in your stomach and like enjoying it and feeling like a good connection with somebody when you kiss them, to being electrocuted. That is weird and is not even a thing. Do you know what I mean? Like, no, it doesn't work. I don't like it. It really annoys me. It's like that whole thing of like, have all the YA authors got together and just decided to tell all the people that read their books that that's what a kiss should be like? Have you experienced an electrifying kiss? Because I certainly have not. It's weird. Anyway, so those are the 10 things that I hate about books, but more specifically YA books. Let me know in the comments below what some of yours are, or do you like any of these tropes and things, because that's always an interesting thing to talk about too. Let me know in the comments below. So at the moment, as you know, I'm doing Vlogmas, so I'm uploading every day at 5 PM, so I will see you again tomorrow. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't already to get notified when those go up, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye guys!
We wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish